She's so fine. Hell of a blows my mind. Hell of a lights my day.
What's good, guys? Today is Monday, November the 21st, 2022. This video will be regarding the brutal murder of Shanquella Robinson on October the 29th of 2022 in Mexico. Normally, I read from articles and just kind of put in facts that I've found, but I think I'm going to do this differently this time because I have literally eat, sleep, and breathe this case. And so I'm just going to go off the fly here because I know so much about this case now that I feel pretty comfortable in doing this. I'm going to start at the beginning. Shanquella Robinson was born on January the 9th of 1997. She was the only child of Bernard Robinson. Her mother, Salamondra, has an older daughter, and her name is Quilla. So it's going to be kind of confusing with my accent if I speak about her. Quilla, which she's more affectionately called by her friends and family, her true friends and family, and Quilla is the older sister. But Bernard only has Shanquella. Shanquella went to West Charlotte High School and graduated. She also attended Winston-Salem State University, and she majored in nursing and in business. She was employed by Transact Insurance Company there in Charlotte, and she also successfully ran 3 exquisite kids hair braiding businesses, and also had an exquisite boutique, which was for women's clothing. So she was employed gainfully, and she was also an entrepreneur, doing her own thing. Now, from all accounts of people that knew Shanquella, she was very reserved, very soft-spoken, non-confrontational seems to be a word that is used a lot when it comes to Shanquella. There's been many interviews with nail technicians that used to work with her, other cosmetologists that worked with her, some of her high school friends, some of their parents. But that seems to be the same thing that keeps coming up. It's very reserved, non-confrontational, good kid. And so you have to look at what we've got here, and she seems to be a 25-year-old with her head screwed on right who was looking for something out of life. She had a job, but that wasn't enough. She wanted to run businesses, and she did so successfully. So we've got somebody that's got their head on straight, well-liked by everyone, or so we thought. And she had some people that she had attended Winston-Salem State University with that she became so-called friends with. And they decided that they were going to take a trip to Cabo for one of the friends, Nazeer Wiggins' birthday. Now, from everything that I can find, Shanquella did not pay for this trip. She was invited to go by her best friend of 5 years, Khalil Cooke. He is the one who seems to come up quite often, so he will be spoke about quite a bit. But it was Nazeer's birthday, and they were going to go take a long weekend in Cabo. Now, another thing that I see that keeps coming up is whether it was Cabo San Lucas or San Jose del Cabo. And from all accounts, and from even tracing the Cabo villas, it seems to be Cabo San Lucas is where they were. But you have major news agencies reporting different places. So it's kind of confusing. But I know on the East Coast, a lot of people, when they say Cabo, they mean Cabo San Lucas. So I'm just going to put that in there. But let's go ahead and get into the story. So they invited her on this long weekend trip to Cabo to celebrate Nazeer Wiggins' birthday. And they were going to leave on the 28th of October. And they were going to return on October the 30th. Now, Nazeer alleges that he didn't get there until the 29th. So he came a day late, which is kind of odd considering they're celebrating his birthday, but he's coming a day late. So that has never made sense to me. But regardless, let's get into this story. The trip included Khalil Cooke, who was Shanquella Robinson's best friend of 5 years, Daejhanae Jackson, Allyse Hyatt, Malik Dyer, Winter Donovan, and of course, Nazeer Wiggins. That was the group that was going to be in Cabo celebrating Nazeer's birthday. They had booked the villa through Cabo Villas, and they were going to be staying in a 1-story villa. Actually, Villa Linda 32. That's the actual villa that they were staying in. And Khalil Cooke invited Shanquella to go. I want to make sure we've got that together. So she was invited on this trip by her best friend of 5 years. The group flew out of Charlotte on October the 28th, which was on a Friday, minus Nazeer Wiggins, according to him. The group stayed in the night they got there. And they had a private chef come and he cooked dinner for them. I think it was tacos or some kind of taco salad, something along that line, is what her mother, Salamondra Robinson, says. Shanquella called her mother that Friday night. And she told her that, what they had just ate. And, she said, I love you. I'll talk to you tomorrow. And her mom said, okay, I love you too. And that was the last time she spoke to her daughter, was on Friday. Now, fast forward to Saturday. This is where it starts getting a little hairy. One of the friends called the mother, Salamondra, on Saturday evening to say that a doctor was en route to the villa. They're telling her mother that Shanquella wasn't feeling well, that she had alcohol poisoning, and so her mother said, okay. She told Khalil, keep me posted on what's going on. I want to know what's going on, so keep me posted. They called her back and told her that they couldn't get a pulse and that they were trying to resuscitate her unsuccessfully. So the doctor had arrived and could not successfully do CPR. Shanquella was pronounced dead on October the 29th, 22 at 3 o'clock p.m. Mountain Pacific time. So they went from telling her that her daughter was sick, not feeling well due to alcohol poisoning, to then calling her back and saying that they couldn't get a pulse and that she was dead. So this mother is 2,000 miles away, obviously can't get to her daughter. Same for her father, 2,000 miles away, can't get to their daughter. And now these so-called friends are saying that their daughter is dead. So you can just imagine that went over like a lead balloon, okay? But the red flags started flying when these so-called friends started coming up with these different stories. And that's what Miss Salamondra was really paying attention to. And that's when she knew something wasn't right. Now, when a Nazeer arrived at the villa, he took a video pulling up to the villa, showing how beautiful it was. That was his first video. His second video was inside by the pool, where he was yelling for Quella to get up. Get up, let's go have some fun. Get up. Wanting her to get up. Now, In the meantime, something happened in that villa, and it was recorded. And one of the people that recorded this video inside of the villa, which shows Daejhanae Jackson beating the brakes off of Shanquella Robinson, they sent that video back home in Charlotte to a family member. And they sent it to Gerald at the North Carolina beat. And that video came out. But in the meantime, let's back it up a little bit. So these so-called friends, Nazeer says that he went straight to Shanquella's side and he rubbed her head and put on soft music and this and he did that, and he got a bag because he thought she was sick. He said that the people in there made him believe that this was alcohol poisoning. But he also said that a nurse was called and that the nurse showed up and was going to give saline to Shanquella because she needed electrolytes, and that they were unable to give her this saline. So the altercation that occurred inside of the villa had to have happened after, had to have happened before the nurse got there. So the nurse pointed out to Nazeer that Shanquella had a big knot on her head, because he said he didn't see that big knot that everyone else has said they seen. And that didn't raise any red flags for him. He said he saw a cut above her eye and that he saw a bump on her lip. That never raised any red flags for Nazeer, according to him. Now, what happened is Shanquella was found unconscious by the maids, and her father, Bernard, said that she was found either sitting up in the bed or just sitting up. And that's how the maids found her. Because these friends, they called a taxi, and they took a taxi to another hotel by the airport on Saturday and spent the night so that they could fly out on Sunday. That's how much they thought of Shanquella Robinson. When they got back, Khalil first went over to Miss Salamondra Robinson's home, and he ate and broke bread with them, her and her daughter, Quilla, her older daughter. And Miss Salamondra asked him about this altercation. He denied it. He came over there several times. He even came over there and brought Daejhanae Jackson, who is the one in the video, beating Shanquella Robinson. And allegedly, there is a second part to that video where Winter Donovan has grabbed Shanquella around the neck and slammed her. That hasn't came out yet, but several very credible sources say that it does exist. And that may be the fatal blow that killed Shanquella Robinson. Now, they were coming around Miss Salamondra, smiling in her face, until Mr. Robinson got the official cause of death back from Mexican authorities. And on the death certificate states, and I had to pull it out because I have it printed, person found unconscious on her living room. But it says the cause of death is severe spinal cord injury and atlas subluxation. And the approximate time between injury and death is 15 minutes. So they estimated her time of death at 3:00 p.m. on October the 29th. They also said, was it an accident or a violent death? Now there's two questions there. It's a two-part question. Accident or violent death? and it says yes. It doesn't say if it means accidental death. It doesn't say whether it means violent death. And I will also make a big correction here, because on the death certificate, it does say that this happened on Street Padroquino, Puerto Los Cabos, San Jose del Cabo, BCS, Baja California, Sur Mexico, 23403. So this did happen in San Jose del Cabo, not in Cabo San Lucas. So let's get that together. I'm just scanning through here to make sure there's nothing else. The date of the death certificate is November the 4th of 2022. Okay. So once Mr. Bernard Robinson, because Mexican authorities said they didn't see anything wrong. Didn't see anything wrong at all. As far as they were concerned, it was alcohol poisoning. Of course, we know better, because once the autopsy came back, the cause of death was trauma. So when Mr. Robinson called Miss Salamondra Robinson and told her, he said that Khalil was actually at her home when he called. And Miss Salamondra said that Khalil suddenly became sick, or he mentioned something about either his mother or his uncle was outside in the car and he had to go. And that was the last time they saw Khalil Cooke. So he was coming and smiling all up in their face until that trauma came back and he knew that he had been caught in a lie. So he went and hid. Okay. Now, getting Shanquella's body back to the States was a whole other ordeal. Now, Khalil did bring her luggage back. He did do that. But, and this has been reported in the news by credible sources, that there was money missing from Shanquella Robinson's purse. And that's kind of a breaking story, so I'm not going to speak a whole lot on that, but it is coming from very credible sources. So there's that. And I'm sure I'll do an update video on that once they get to the bottom of that. The FBI initially said, nope, we don't want anything to do with it. That's the federales. Well, now, effective November the 18th, they have officially began an investigation into this case. So, Mr. Robinson said that he had to wire almost $7,000 to Mexican authorities so that, and fill out a bunch of forms, including a release form, so that he could get his daughter's body back. Her body came back and was brought into the funeral home. And her body came back on November the 10th at approximately 5 o'clock p.m. And when Shanquella arrived in a box, is what her father said, and she was wearing her pajamas, pants and a shirt. And he wasn't sure if the friends had put that on her or if Mexican authorities had put that on her to send her home. But either way, she was in her pajamas. And that he had to be pulled out of the funeral home by his brother because he didn't want to leave her. He said she did have a knot on her head, her eye was swollen, and she did have a cut on her lip. And he said, quote, no alcohol poisoning going to do all that, end quote. Now, the autopsy report did come back on the 17th. So we know that Khalil was in contact with the family up until about that time. Nazeer went live, and he's doing a lot of talking, trying to clear his name up. But it seems like he's only making things worse, because a lot of the things that are alleged, that he's alleging, just don't make sense. It just simply doesn't make sense. When you sit here and put the times together, it's not adding up. If you're going by the death certificate time, what he's saying is not, it's not adding up. So I'll probably do a video on that as well. Shanquella's funeral was held on November the 19th of 2022 at Macedonia Baptist Church, which is the home church where Shanquella grew up. And that's also in Charlotte. Her wake was from 11 to 12. Her funeral was from 12 to 1. Hundreds of people showed up, as they should have. As they should have. Beautiful service. Her sister Quilla did a GoFundMe where they have raised almost $350,000. They've done really well on the GoFundMe. Of course, nothing's ever going to bring their daughter back, but at least they will not be financially struggling to get things going here. Her funeral was a beautiful service. It was attended by Tamika Mallory, who is an activist. And I'm just showing just a few pictures from the funeral. This is kind of just going to be a laying the case out there video, because there's so much involved in this case, and I'm not ever going to be able to get it into one video. That's the top of her casket. It's got her full name on there with pictures. There are also pictures on the side. And she did have a horse-drawn carriage for her funeral. Now, I'm going to end the initial video, but I have so much more information, and I'm going to have to just break it down into sections. But I wanted to do just a full, complete, just to give you a brief synopsis of what has happened so far. And I promise you, I will be back. I have so much to say about this case. This is absolutely a heinous crime, and these people should be punished to the full extent of the law, okay? They are still out there. They have not been arrested as of the time of this video, which is 9/11 Central Time on the 21st p.m. And I will see you guys in my next video. Thanks for watching, guys.